Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends. With another new patch comes another new character showcase. This time for the Blood Angel's Sanguinary Priest, Nicodemus. Let's jump in and take a look. The models and animations continue to impress, and I'm even more appreciative of them since meeting the artists themselves on my visit to Snowprint's Berlin HQ. Nicodemus has two traits, Healer and Rapid Assault. The stats on screen are at Diamond 3. I'll take a closer look later on to show you how this compares to other characters in the game. Nicodemus has a base movement speed of 3, which increases to 4 until he attacks due to Rapid Assault. This is an especially nice trait to have on a healer who will probably end up healing for a few turns before eventually attacking, effectively giving the character a movement of 4 for several turns. Nicodemus has a 3-hit melee attack with the chain damage type. His active ability is called Blood Chalice. This sets all adjacent non-mechanical allies to 50% health. It then grants them bonus pierce ratio and lets them heal with their melee attack. The passive is named after the character himself. Sanguinary Priest lets Nicodemus heal all adjacent friendly units after he finishes moving. If the character does not move, this ability triggers at the end of his turn. We can take a look at how that fits together in this gameplay clip. I've chosen God's Will as an example because God's Will is usable alongside the Blood Angels for this month's Faction Wars. Nicodemus moves next to God's Will, applying a small heal through his passive ability. After that, Nicodemus uses his active. This sets God's Will's health to the percentage denoted by the ability. God's Will now has a buff underneath his unit card that shows that he has the Blood Chalice effect. When God's Will moves into melee, his passive ability triggers. This also triggers Blood Chalice due to the melee descriptor on the passive ability. God's Will still has the Blood Chalice effect until the end of his turn, and any further attacks he makes will heal him again. We have to get the obvious elephant in the room out of the way before delving into some of the cooler interactions with the character. Some of the Blood Angels characters like Mataneo and Lucian have abilities that do more damage when their health is at 50% or less. So you would think that makes Nicodemus's Blood Chalice a perfect pairing. Well, it is, but sort of. If you use Blood Chalice when Nico starts the turn next to Mataneo or Lucian, then the order of operations is such that their health is set to 50%, and then they are healed from Nico's passive. Sure, you still get the bonus pierce and healing effect from Blood Chalice, but he doesn't trigger the 50% faction perks. There is a workaround. You just need to make sure that Nico moves into adjacency first, triggers the passive heal, and then uses his Blood Chalice. With that out of the way, let's look at some of the cooler interactions with Nico and the Blood Angels. Mephiston's active, shuffling Blood Angels around, starts to show how he ties the faction together. Nico triggers his passive at the end of his movement. Mephiston's active can move him around the map and therefore trigger Nico's passive twice in one turn. Blood Chalice gives affected units the ability to heal with each attack. Once you apply that to a Blood Angel, Mephiston can then move that character around, triggering multiple attacks in one turn and therefore multiple heals. Blood Chalice lasts until the start of the character's next turn, so it can be used for characters with retaliation mechanics like Ulf and Jaeger. You can see how that works in this clip, with Jaeger making multiple retaliation attacks with bonus pierce and healing himself on each occasion. One of the common questions I get asked about new characters is how does the enemy AI control the character on defense? I have running on screen an AI versus AI battle with Nicodemus on both teams. Hopefully you might glean some insights into his behaviour. It appears, at least on the face of it, that Nico doesn't seem to needlessly use the Blood Chalice, which bodes well for his use on war defense. Since Nicodemus is a healer, we can spend a bit of time analysing that aspect of his kit. We are familiar by now with how healing works and is calculated. Healers look at their damage stat and number of melee hits, and these two numbers multiply together to give you a heal number. FMG, Tacticus, Ambassador and Friend has helped me put this together on a graph. It demonstrates that Nico's healing is really quite impressive, and as shown here, he is the best base healer in the game by a significant margin. Having talked through his kit and showcased his abilities, here is a summary slide that shows the abilities and stats of Nicodemus at various cutoffs. Feel free to pause or screenshot if you'd like. The character is summarized on screen in my usual infographic style. Its numbers on the right are at Diamond 3. Tawin, Tacticus Ambassador and Friend has run those comparatively against the existing characters. Nico's health and armor are on the 67th and 76th centile respectively. His damage numbers aren't as impressive, but remember that he is a healer. That leads us to continue where the character might shine. I guess the thing that jumps out to me is that Nico essentially should have a movement speed of 4, making him the first healer with that trait. You can just move him around the map, applying Blood Chalice and healing characters. As long as you don't attack, he'll keep hold of that bonus movement from Rapid Assault. If you decide to use him offensively, the passive on its own has reasonable sustain, so you can still keep healing and keep up some offensive outlay. What about specific modes? Let's start with Horde mode. Being a healer is incredibly important for this game mode, and Nico can not only heal in an area of effect for free every turn, but he has a further, very powerful targeted heal. I think he'll do very well here, and I'm giving him a 5. What about War? Well, healers are pretty valuable, especially in longer battles that are drawn out by virtue of summons. Nico gives a bit more burst damage to your team as well, through Blood Chalice, so I think a score of 4 is reasonable. Finally, guild raids. Healers don't really do much in this game mode, unless you're jumping through hoops to survive against a higher damage boss like Avatar, Mortarion or Magnus. I'll give Nico a 2 here. I now know the 5th Blood Angel's character, so I can't truthfully speculate on who it will be, but I don't know that character's skills or abilities yet. Looking at the Blood Angels faction as a whole, there appear to be some themes. We now have 3 characters in the faction with the Rapid Assault trait, embodying the aggressive and fearless nature of the Blood Angels. Mephiston seems to be a linchpin in enabling the faction, either through extra summons for Matineo, extra attacks for Lucian, or extra heals for Nicodemus. Thanks as always to my Patreons for supporting me and giving me the platform to continue doing this sort of work. If you are a newer player who hasn't yet used their referral code, I'd love if you could use mine as shown on screen. It earns you 100 Blackstone and supports me in the work that I do. It is single use though, so choose who you support carefully. There you go, another character showcase. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.
Bye, see you soon. Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi.